Hi, welcome to Homeschool Wherever. My name is Sognonvi, and welcome to the very first video on this channel. I decided to start this channel really just to document our family's journey into homeschooling. We're going to be homeschooling for the very first time this fall, and I thought this would be an interesting place to kind of share what we've learned, what works, what doesn't work, and hopefully to connect with other like-minded families along the way. So let me tell you about our family. There's me, Carmen, my husband, Serge, our oldest daughter, Sean, who is 11 and she'll be entering 6th grade, and our youngest daughter, Ella, who is 7 and she is going to be entering 3rd grade. So I thought I would shoot this very first video just to tell you a little bit about our family and also a little bit about what to expect from this channel in the future. So in addition to wanting to just kind of document our journey into homeschooling, I decided to start this channel because as I was watching different YouTube videos about homeschooling and really looking for resources for our family, one thing I noticed is that there's a lot of aspects of our family that are not necessarily represented as much as I would like to see on YouTube. Now, of course, I've learned a ton from many different channels here on YouTube. You don't have to find a family that's completely identical as yours in order to learn something. But that said, I feel like by us sharing our journey, it might be helpful to some families who share certain aspects of our identity, and it might be a good thing to, see aspects of their identity represented here in us. So the first thing to know about our family is that we are secular. We're not atheist, we're not anti-religion in any way, we're just not particularly religious. So Serge and I actually both grew up mostly Catholic. So Serge, I think, got all the way up to his confirmation. I got all the way up to my first communion. And since then, we've basically become your typical lapsed Catholics. So we definitely have a background in Christianity, or specifically Catholicism. So we definitely do plan on studying religion with the girls. However, we are planning to sort of give equal credit to all of the major religions and get to know all of those and really incorporate that as part of a social studies curriculum. Now, another thing that may set us apart from some other homeschooling families is that we are a urban family, meaning we live in New York City, not in the suburbs of New York. We are in New York itself. We're in Brooklyn. And the reason I think that matters is space. We don't have this sprawling mansion where we have rooms that we can dedicate solely to homeschooling. Now, our place is actually pretty big by New York City standards. That said, we are still going to be doing the majority of our homeschooling at our dining room table. And I'm sure that's definitely going to cause some issues. There's going to be some storage concerns, some storage challenges to overcome. And so those are some of the things that I plan on sharing on this channel as well. I think it's important for families to know that they don't need a ton of space in order to do homeschooling. If we can make it work at our dining room table, then you can probably do the same. Now, another thing you probably noticed already about our family is that we're a multiracial family. I think families of color in general are still a little bit underrepresented in the homeschooling community. So I'm really looking forward to kind of being a representative of what a multiracial family looks like when they're homeschooling. So just a little bit about our ethnic backgrounds, because you may be curious. I am Chinese and Belgian. I was born and mostly raised in Hong Kong, although we did live in a few different countries when I was a kid. And I moved here to the US when I was 17. And Serge is African American, born and raised in New York City. But more specifically, his parents are from Benin in West Africa, and they immigrated here as adults. So both of us really have that sort of immigrant background and that kind of vibe to our families. So our family has roots on 4 different continents, and we're definitely going to be bringing a lot of those cultures into our homeschooling. Now, another thing that makes our family a little bit different is that we travel a lot. However, New York City is our home base, so we are not full-time travelers, we're not a nomadic family. And again, I think that's something that sets us apart a little bit from other families where they are traveling full-time, they're doing the world schooling thing, the unschooling thing. We travel a ton, which I'm going to explain in a little bit. But as of now, at least, we're not planning to unschool, we're really planning to homeschool with a curriculum and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk more about the travel piece, because this really leads us to the reason why we decided to go down this journey. So we actually work full-time as family travel creators. Our travel brand is Top Flight Family. You will find us on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. So if you're interested in family travel and kind of learning about that aspect of our lives, definitely go check us out on those platforms. So we've been working as family travel creators for 4 or 5 years now, and every year we would spend more and more and more days on the road traveling. So up until now, our girls have actually gone to regular public school here in New York City. And in the earlier years, we could make it work just by scheduling trips around school breaks and holidays. They would miss some days here and there, but it was nothing too significant. But in this last school year that just finished, it got really a little bit out of hand. And while we were lucky that our girls' school was actually very understanding and they actually very much supported what we do, there kind of comes a point where you don't really want to take too much advantage of kindness, if that makes sense. And also I kind of felt like we were sort of overstepping our bounds and not necessarily being respectful by taking so much time off to travel. And of course, on top of all of that, not so much for Ella, our little one, but for Sean, she would start getting kind of stressed out when we traveled because she was thinking about all of the homework she was missing or any tests that she would have to retake later on. So we had already come to the decision pre-COVID that we would transition to homeschooling in the fall. Now, the original idea is that it would give us more flexibility to do more traveling. Now, of course, in the midst of a global pandemic, our traveling has slowed way down. I mean, we used to travel 1 to 2 times a month. But I am grateful that we will be able to keep the girls at home because to me, that's just gonna feel so much safer. And when things settle down and get a little bit safer in terms of COVID, then hopefully we can get back to traveling like we used to. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of delve into our family's educational backgrounds. So Serge and I are actually kind of on opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to education. He did a little stint in Catholic school, which didn't work out that well. So for the most of his educational career, he's gone to public schools here in New York City. He was never that strong academically, so it wasn't always easy for him. So he ended up going the community college route and he never really quite finished there. So I'm kind of the polar opposite of that. I was always a straight A student. For me, school came pretty naturally and it never really felt that hard. As I mentioned, my family moved around quite a lot when I was a kid. So most of the time I went to international schools, whether it was in Hong Kong, in Shanghai. In Belgium, I actually went to a local Catholic school for 2 years. So that was a little bit different. But most of my education up until college was in some type of international school, whether it was an American school or a British school. I moved to New York and attended Columbia University. And so I definitely had the very sort of traditional get good grades, get into a good school, hopefully get a high-paying job. That was kind of my path. Now, I have some slightly untraditional views when it comes to higher education, but I'll probably save that for a future video. But yeah, I think since our family kind of encompasses all these different educational experiences, we're kind of more open-minded to what education can look like, and we're not necessarily so hung up on it, you know, fitting into a particular box. So let's talk about what I plan to cover in this channel. So one thing I'm definitely going to be talking about is how we are incorporating education into our travels. So a good example of that is a trip that we did to Greater Williamsburg in Virginia earlier this summer. Now, we didn't go super hard on the education, but if you want to see kind of how we incorporated a little bit of that into this trip, you can go check out our vlog on our main channel, Top Flight Family. So we'll definitely be talking more about that, incorporating educational elements into the trips that we're already doing. Another thing that I plan on covering is field trips in and around New York City. We're fortunate to live in such an amazing place with so many great institutions and museums and historical sites. And so those are definitely some of the experiences I'll be sharing on this channel as well. I definitely plan on getting into some of the curriculum that we're going to be using. I know that the general pattern, I've watched enough YouTube videos to know that the general pattern for new homeschooling families seems to be that they start out super structured, and then as time goes on and they become more confident and the parents become more confident teachers, things get a little bit more relaxed and less structured. I fully expect that our family will kind of see that path as well, where it's like we go from super structured to less and less and more relaxed. However, in the beginning at least, I am gonna need more structure. And so I will be sharing some of the curricula that I've picked out and how it goes, what I think of it, what works, what doesn't. I'll probably talk a little bit about record keeping for homeschooling. I plan on keeping a bullet journal to kind of keep track of what we're working on, do a little bit of planning, so I'll definitely be sharing some of that. And I think we'll also just do a lot of general updates. You know, maybe at the end of every month, I'll kind of recap what homeschooling was like that month, what we learned, what worked, what didn't, what are some lessons we've learned moving forward, what are things we're gonna change. So expect content like that as well. So the thing that I'm really looking forward to from starting this channel is hopefully creating a community of like-minded families. So if any of this resonated with you, if there's any part of our family's identity that you share, I would love to hear about it. So please leave a comment and maybe introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about your family, tell me about what schooling is going to look like for your family this year. I'd love to hear from you. So if you're still with me and all of that sounds good, I would encourage you to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future videos, and also follow us at Instagram at Homeschool Wherever, and also on TikTok at Homeschool Wherever. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big fan of TikTok. We do a lot on our main account, Top Flight Family, but I do plan on starting a Homeschool Wherever TikTok account as well, where I'm going to be sharing more homeschooling content. So I'm going to have some fun with that. Thanks for watching and see you soon.